would like to welcome you today to our session, Have a Happy Day. Today's session is presented by Dr. Sheryl Kristensen, who is a senior core faculty member in the PhD in Management program here at Walden University, along with Dr. Ashley Reibel, who is a senior enrollment specialist here at Walden University. It's great to have you both on the line today, and at this point, I'm going to turn things over to you. Welcome.
So much, Lita. And hi, Brittany. Welcome. Welcome to our session titled Have a Happy Day. You might notice that you cannot see me. I'm, for whatever reason, having technical issues with video today. It worked just fine when we rehearsed on Tuesday, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But rest assured, I'm behind the scenes here, just excited to have you here. So as Lita said, I'm currently a senior core faculty in the PhD in Management program, and I've been at Walden for about 12 years. It is my extreme pleasure to introduce Dr. Ashley Reibel, a December 2023 graduate of the PhD in Management program, as co-presenter. I was fortunate to serve as faculty for Ashley during her time as a student at Walden. Ashley, can you share a bit more about yourself?
Yes, and thank you so much, Dr. Kristensen. It's really great to be here. I've been employed at Walden for about 3.5 years. As you mentioned, my primary position at Walden is a senior enrollment specialist, and now I also teach part-time in the Doctorate of Business Administration program here. I'm a proud alumni of Walden, as you mentioned, having received my PhD in management a few months ago. My dissertation was a quantitative study which explored the relationship between mentoring, gender, generational cohort, and job performance. And when I started my PhD at Walden, I never could have imagined that I'd be in this position here today, speaking at a faculty conference like this. I'm so grateful to Dr. Kristensen for mentoring me as a student and championing for me as a professional. And now she and I are here together, and we would like to start by asking all of you a question. Do you want to be happier? That's our goal here today, to provide some practical and engaging ways to do this, to improve your lives and even the lives of others. At the end of this session, we hope that you can articulate definitions of happiness, describe factors that influence happiness, identify strategies to leverage happiness, and develop a practical plan that you can have to use in your life. We both hope that this session inspires you in some way, and that you have some fun while doing it. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Kristensen.
Thanks, Ashley. Happiness is ubiquitous. A quick internet search on the keyword happiness resulted in over 9 million hits. A search in Academic Search Complete on the keyword happiness resulted in over 27,000 hits. A Google search on happiness assessments resulted in over 100,000 hits. A search on Barnes & Noble resulted in over 7,000 hits. Even the latest edition of my AARP magazine has a segment on happiness. Earlier in the year, the National Geographic magazine included a segment on happiness. There is even a world database of happiness that serves as an archive of research on the subjective enjoyment of life. Happiness has been defined, philosophized, theorized, quantified, and even recognized on the International Day of Happiness. Yet, it can be a seemingly elusive state for many of us. We believe everyone deserves to enjoy brief moments of happiness as well as sustained happiness, and realizing that it just might take a bit of focus and intention to get there. So moving on to the next slide, we're going to just hover just for a moment over our little bingo game. So as my understanding that we only have, I think, one participant right now, so we're not going to play bingo because we don't really have enough to do that. But the idea here was to just have a little bit of an icebreaker, focusing on what I call happiness snacks. So if you take a moment and look at each of the cells of this bingo game, most of these little items in the cells kind of represent things that bring me great happiness in serendipitous moments on a daily basis. And I like to call those things happiness snacks. And sometimes I'm just out and about and I might see a beautiful sunset and it just makes my heart happy. Sometimes, and even more frequently, I am making very purposeful efforts to schedule happiness snacks throughout my day. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and move forward. And Ashley is going to give us some background on happiness.
Yeah, thank you. So let's start off with an obvious question. What is happiness? Well, for one, happiness is like a portfolio. We need many components to be balanced and grow. Of these components, faith, family, friends, and meaningful work are perhaps the most important. Faith or life philosophy is how we make sense of the world. Family relationships are one that we don't necessarily choose, but ones that we can typically count on. Friendships are our most intimate relationships and are generally chosen. And meaningful work allows us to earn our success and serve others. Interestingly, when it comes to meaningful work, employees who are happy tend to stay at jobs longer, take fewer days off, and they're more productive. These four areas all complement each other and exist in harmony. Secondly, happiness can be measured and improved. Happiness is like a personal, and it can be measured through self-reporting. It may be difficult to report other people's level of happiness because we all have different outward personalities. For instance, a quiet and reserved person may very well be happy. Smiling, however, is an easily observable and universal sign of happiness. Many people smile because they're happy, and ironically, people can become happier by smiling. There are also things we can do to train out of our brains to become happier, such as perfectionism, comparing others, materialism, and not being truly present for happy moments. Thirdly, happiness equals enjoyment plus satisfaction and meaning. Enjoyment is a sum of pleasure along with a measure of education. For instance, a wine tasting involves the pleasure of drinking wine with the education of learning about the varietal of or region of the grapes. Satisfaction is what we have divided by what we want. We can become more satisfied by being more grateful for what we have, which I'll talk about more in a later slide. And meaning is life value, which oftentimes can come through facing hardships. For instance, someone who has overcome a grave illness may find more meaning in life by helping others suffering through the same illness. And lastly, happiness is strengthened when we share it and teach it with others. Happiness grows within us when we give it away through caring, serving, and loving each other. Happiness is contagious. When we spend time around happy people, we're likely to get a boost of happiness as well. For these reasons, we think that focusing on happiness allows us to nurture a community of care. And Dr. Kristensen will talk about the different types of happiness here.
Ashley. So, is happiness something you attain? Is it something you discover in yourself? Perhaps it is both. Oh, Lita, I'm doing a slide check. Lita, I don't see any slides. Perhaps
David.
that's just me. Maybe I'm still having a tech issue.
I see them.
Okay, good. It's just me. My tech is just not working today.
No
All right.
worries.
So another way to talk about what happiness means is to look at two psychological definitions for types of happiness: hedonic happiness versus eudaimonic happiness. Hedonic happiness is the experience of some of the simple joys and pleasures we enjoy at any given moment during the day. These are very likely to be these serendipitous moments of happiness that we experience as a result of something that just kind of happens. Or it could be a planned event, such as our morning coffee or visiting with a friend. One of the keys of hedonic happiness is that this type of happiness tends to be more short-lived. It is not generally a sustained type of happiness. So examples of hedonic sources of happiness might include, and depending on the individual, enjoying a chocolate dessert. It could be just getting a fabulous new outfit, buying a new car, getting a new haircut, having fun, going out with friends. These are examples of just something that might happen in a day that can contribute to our in the moment happiness that are not generally or necessarily sustained over time. So you might jump to the conclusion that hedonic happiness isn't a good thing because it's short-lived and because it's more kind of in the moment. But it is very important. We actually need it. Hedonic happiness, though, helps humans get through the day. There's absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying hedonic happiness moments. In some ways, hedonic happiness motivates us in our everyday lives to work, to please, and to love. And as I mentioned, hedonic happiness is more fleeting. It's a great for quick pick-me-ups, but we need to remember that the pleasure does not last. So we need to consider other ways to enjoy and to attain sustained happiness. This is where eudaimonic happiness comes into play. Contrary to the more in the moment happiness that we see as hedonic happiness, eudaimonic happiness has a very different view. Eudaimonia is the state of happiness built on what it means to live life well and flourish. This state of well-being comes from developing our best potential and applying it to the fulfillment of our personally determined goals. It is more about self-actualization and our human potential. It's more purposeful and is informed by our values, core beliefs, our understanding of ourselves, and an awareness of the link between what we're thinking and how that thinking informs our actions. This type of happiness is not as likely to be achieved in a moment or a day, and frankly, might not feel great all of the time because of the purposeful work that goes into it. The sense of satisfaction and happiness we feel when we reach goals is more sustained and lasting state of happiness. Examples of eudaimonic sources of happiness might include a sense of achievement when achieving a life goal, such as earning a doctorate, gaining mastery of a skill after dedicated practice, becoming fluent in a second or third language, knowing that the work we do is meaningful, raising our children to be good people, or volunteering to help others. And now, moving to the next slide, Ashley is going to talk about factors that influence happiness.
Thank you. As Dr. Kristensen mentioned, both hedonic and eudaimonic happiness are achieved and can contribute to overall well-being in different ways. What are some other factors that can influence our happiness? We'll start with culture and language in the 9 o'clock position on your screen. Culture and language can shape our emotions and behaviors. In some cultures, happiness is defined by social harmony. In others, it's defined by personal achievement. The citizens of the country of Finland would argue that it's a little bit of many factors. According to the World Happiness Report this year, it was reported that the citizens of Finland are the happiest people on earth. Finland spends billions of euros on social protection programs, which include pensions, healthcare costs, unemployment, and other social services. Finland is also one of the most gender equal, family friendly, and environmentally conscious societies of the world. When it comes to religion and philosophy, in general, people tend to think that religion can help them deal with stress or difficulty. Religion and philosophy help people stay positive, feel at peace, provide hope, or even forgiveness. It's the idea of something greater than themselves. For instance, the tradition of the Catholic Church teaches that God alone is the final satisfaction, but that earthly happiness is still a worthwhile and attainable goal. In Buddhism, happiness is achieved when a person can perceive the true nature of reality. Internal factors are some of the greatest impacts on eudaimonic happiness, and good news that we have control over these. Positive psychology is the idea that people can apply knowledge and effect to become more happier. This doesn't just happen, it's truly a pursuit. In simple terms, if we tell ourselves that we're happy, and if we're grateful for what we have, we may become happier. On the other hand, external factors generally have less impact on our long-term happiness. The big house, the big car, the big money, those hedonic feelings. These may provide temporary joy, but they rarely last and may keep us only wanting more. And genetics, which is about 50% of our happiness. While there is no happiness gene per se, there has been research on genetics that influences our mood and emotional characteristics. One example is a gene which has been found to lead to financial risk-taking, nicotine withdrawal, ADHD, alcoholism, aggression, panic disorder, and other mood and emotional characteristics. While we can't avoid genes like this one, we can strategize to control happiness as best as we can. And Dr. Kristensen will now provide us with some of those strategies that we can use to leverage happiness.
Great, thank you, Ashley. So for today's presentation, I'm going to briefly cover 4 overarching strategies to leverage happiness. These strategies include mind tools, body tools, spirit tools, and environmental tools. Mind tools involve activities in which we adopt patterns and practices that help us manage our thinking and even emotions. One example of a mind tool involves changing our thought patterns. Many of us tend to focus more on what is not going well rather than on what is going well. Shifting the script a bit to focus on more positive thinking can possibly influence how we feel in any given moment. While some approaches may require professional guidance, there are habits we can develop on our own. Mindfulness is another example of a mind tool that can help us focus on the here and now rather than worrying about external influences that we might not have any control over in the minute. Mindful strategies might be to slow down and focus on one task rather than multitasking. Another example of mind tools is affirmations. We can take time each day to say positive things to ourselves. Examples of affirmations include, I am enough. I deserve to be happy, healthy, and loved. I have the power to control my body, my health, and my wellness. I am relaxed and free from stress. Now moving to body tools. Body tools involve our physical self. Breathing is one example of a useful body tool. One example is to use breathing as an approach to dealing with a stressful situation. Body language is another useful approach. Smiling and using posture techniques such as standing tall and also exercise are examples of body tools. There's nothing like a little bit of endorphins as a result of some good exercise to really lift our sense of happiness during the day. Eating is also a body tool. Eating healthy takes care of our biological health needs that we also need and contributes to our overall sense of happiness. And finally, one that's near and dear to me is getting enough quality sleep is an essential body tool for cultivating happiness. The next strategy is spirit tools. Spirit tools are additional approaches for cultivating happiness, and in this context, pertain to activities that can help guide our outlook on life. A few examples of spirit tools include developing a personal mission statement, a personal vision statement, and personal goals can fall under the idea of a personal mission statement. Practicing gratitude is an additional example of a spirit tool. Gratitude helps us to be thankful for the small and big things. And by purposefully practicing gratitude, that helps us celebrate those things that are meaningful to us in our lives. Journaling is another example of a spirit tool. Journaling, either through written word or typing or perhaps even a verbal journal, helps us work through our thoughts and feelings. The last tool for cultivating happiness is environmental. We can manage our physical environments in ways that fuel us and fill us in positive ways. One environmental tool involves creating routines so that we can minimize unnecessary chaos and conflict. Another environmental tool involves minimizing clutter. One of my favorite environmental tools is to use physical reminders of happiness. They fall into the category of what I refer to as happiness snacks. Examples can include pictures of things that you love, mementos of positive experiences, going to particular places that you enjoy. For example, going to visit family, going to visit friends, and so forth. Spending time outdoors is another useful environmental tool. You don't have to go on a week-long hike through the Rockies to enjoy the benefits of the environment as it relates to happiness. Even a stroll down the street can be a source of happiness. Next slide, please. So now we are moving into a self-reflection and assessment, which is needed to articulate a happiness action plan, which Ashley is going to facilitate next. So now I believe Ashley is posting a link to an online Wheel of Life tool in the chat.
So the wheel of life, you can kind of see here that there's different priorities, right, with your life, your health, your career, your love life, family, money, friends, and fun. And so, you want to prioritize those, think through, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So let's just say, for instance, on the example here, health is at a 7. So we are very aware, that health is at a 7, and how do we improve it to get to a 10, right? That's ideal. So, when we assess our health and all these factors here, there's some questions that we can ask for health. Can your body do what it needs to do throughout the day without pain? How are your energy levels? Do you take care of yourself emotionally? In terms of career, how much do you enjoy your work? Is your work a healthy combination of challenging and rewarding? And while we won't go through these here, you can kind of see some questions that you want to ask yourself so that you can assess your own factors that affect your life, and you can take actions, specifically smart actions, to increase that number in areas that you'd like. Okay, but that's a nice visual. So let's go to the next slide, and let's say, for instance, Dr. Kristensen is looking to improve her health. And as she mentioned a couple minutes ago, she's really interested in, or she really suffers right now with the number of hours of sleep that she gets per night, which really can affect her health. And it's a very clear way to become healthier is to get more sleep. So if her goal is to get more sleep to improve her health, she may consider a SMART goal like this. She may want to set a specific goal, such as to increase the amount of sleep that she gets. Of course, we have to measure this goal. She could plan to increase the amount of sleep by 1 hour per night, which of course is 7 hours per week, or 28 to 31 hours per month. It must be achievable. It cannot be too easy or too difficult. For instance, we would not want Dr. Kristensen's goal to be to increase her sleep by 1 minute per night. That's just not challenging enough. Or 6 hours per night, which is far too challenging and just unrealistic. Her goals must be relevant. Sleep is important to health. So by increasing her sleep, she will naturally increase her overall health. And lastly, it must be timely. So let's say she wants to have this goal for the month of July. By the end of July, by tracking every night, she will ideally have achieved this goal, meaning that she will have increased her sleep by 31 hours for the whole month. And of course, Dr. Kristensen may want to do some practical things to get to this place. And of course, that's her decision of how she wants to do it. Does she want to turn off her phone earlier? Does she want to go to bed earlier? Does she want to read before bed, which may make her sleepier? Does she want to start drinking caffeine earlier in the day? Does she want to come into work a little bit later? Those practical things are up to her. But this is how we want to do it if we really want a smart action to increase her sleep, health, and overall happiness. Now we're on to the resources.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Here are just a few happiness resources that you might find interesting. We hope you take away something meaningful as a result of this short session together. And remember to incorporate happiness snacks into your day. I'm hoping that you just have some serendipitous moments of pure joy. So that's wonderful. But also consider how you can just schedule some moments of joy. Be very, very purposeful in planning happiness into your day if you can. And now Ashley is going to finish us off with the references.
Yeah, I would just like to give proper credit to the references that we used here, and you'll see those on your screen here above. And next slide, as we conclude our session here today, I'd like to sum up some of our key messages. For one, while there are many factors that influence happiness, we learn that we can strategically control many of these factors to improve our own happiness, such as developing a happiness action plan. Secondly, it is important to self-reflect and take actions that can increase your happiness and the lives of those around you. For me, I plan to be more grateful for my blessings so that I can focus more on what I have rather than what I don't have. And I'm going to stop where I started today and express my sincere gratitude for this opportunity that allowed Dr. Kristensen and I to share what we've learned about happiness. We hope you've inspired to look within yourself so that you can become the happiest version of yourself, spread it generously with others, contribute to Walden's community of care, and make a positive social change. And I'd like to challenge all of you to munch on at least one happy snack per day. And with that, we'll open it up to questions. Thank you.
Actually, I'm wondering, is it possible to include the link to the Wheel of Life? So perhaps Brittany might want to try it.
I will include it. It seems to me that there's just too much traffic right now on it. So
Okay.
yeah, that's why we skipped it here, but I will definitely include it. Maybe we could try it a different day here.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for your comments, Brittany. I did add the link in the chat. I want to thank everyone for attending, or if you're viewing this at a later date, thank you so much for carving out time to view today's session. And thank you to our presenters for presenting this valuable information. I think sometimes we move forward so fast we don't think, and we don't take time to nibble on those positive items that are surrounding us. So thank you so much to Dr. Sheryl Kristensen and Dr. Ashley Reibel. Really appreciate your time today. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to either reach out to our presenters or contact us at otle@mail.waldenu.edu, and we can put you in contact with them. Thank you all, and I hope you have a very happy day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.